The past does not disappear without a trace. It patiently waits until we find its marks, which can be hidden both in the depths of the ocean and in the basement of an old house. In this video, I offer you a selection of interesting finds from bygone time. Enjoy watching. In Mamerki, Poland, there is the Mauerwald Bunker, a bunker complex from the time of World War II where the Supreme Military Command of Nazi Germany was located. The network of structures was built in 1941 near Lake Mamer, now known as Mamre, and included about 250 buildings and bunkers. Today, part of the complex has been turned into a museum with underground tunnels and exhibitions, while other bunkers are abandoned and open for exploration. These structures are exactly what attract adventure seekers. This abandoned shipyard has become a very famous place in Britain. It contains a true ship graveyard, from simple fishing boats to relics of World War II. Norilsk contains a large number of abandoned buildings that create a frightening atmosphere of desolation. A man discovered a saber from the early 19th century in a river. Surprisingly, for some reason, no one else had noticed it before. Adventure seekers found a secret hatch in the forest that led into dark tunnels. The people decided to climb down and found scattered clothing inside. It looked very creepy, so the explorers did not dare go any farther. An explorer made his way onto a former military base in Suffolk, England. There he found several old vending machines and was already disappointed because there was nothing interesting there. However, after walking a few more meters, the explorer found ammunition and other items from the time of World War II. After a storm, many interesting things and objects can be found along the coast. For example, these people were lucky enough to find an 18-meter yacht called Front Page. It is a pity that it cannot be restored. In 2011, people online discussed a mysterious find on a Japanese beach after the tsunami of April 7th. The objects looked like giant Easter eggs with patterns. Users suggested various versions, from large mollusks to alien creatures. However, it later became known that there were no huge eggs on the beach. They had been created for a publicity campaign for the film Incident in Bournemouth. An explorer discovered an abandoned airfield. Soviet helicopters and aircraft can still be seen on its territory, in particular the Mi-24 and the MiG-19. Many of the machines are still in good condition. Just a few years ago, marine animals rescued by volunteers lived here, but after the pandemic, the local inhabitants had to move to other places. Divers went to a depth far from the coast and discovered a real truck graveyard. It seemed as if someone had deliberately dumped the vehicles into the water to get rid of evidence. The British main battle tank, Chieftain, which was in service from the 1960s through the 1980s, was known for good battlefield concealment. Its reduced hull height, achieved through the semi-reclined position of the driver, noticeably lowered the vehicle's silhouette and made it less visible to the enemy. Its compact turret and sloped armor plates additionally smoothed out the tank's outline, making visual detection harder. Perhaps that is why it stood in this place for more than half a century before the explorer found it. On September 5, 1909, the steamship Edward Bolen ran aground near the Skeleton Coast in Namibia because of dense fog. The 95-meter vessel was supposed to travel from Swakopmund to Table Bay in Cape Town, but it became stranded near the shore. Over more than 100 years, the sands moved westward, and now the ship lies about 300 meters from the water, sinking into the desert dunes. An impressive collection of more than 70 rare cars is gathered in a private collector's hangar in Detroit. Among the gems of the collection are one of the two existing first Cadillac station wagons in the world and the elegant Ford Cougar. Each exhibit is a piece of automotive history, so the owner preserves the cars in special capsules. Thanks to this decision, the vehicles look new despite their age. On the coast of Socotra Island in South Yemen stand abandoned Soviet 34 tanks. They were given in the 1970s as a gift from the USSR. They were dug into the ground to defend the coast, and since then they have continued to stand in this place, now as an unusual attraction of the island. Researchers made their way into the UKSS building at Baikonur and discovered an abandoned Energia M launch vehicle there, a reduced version of Energia with a payload capacity of 30 to 35 tons. Its test took place from 1989 to 1991. The launch was planned for 1994, but the project was closed a year earlier. Rusty carousels, crooked slides, and overgrown paths create an oppressive atmosphere. Such places cause an inexplicable fear and remind people of something lost. A man discovered a strange skeleton and captured it on camera. At first, he thought it was the remains of a crocodile, but after the video was published online, experts noted that the shape of the skull did not match any known crocodile. Ancient petroglyphs have survived in the canyons of Utah, rock images created by indigenous peoples thousands of years ago. On the rocks, one can see carved drawings of people, animals, mysterious symbols, and geometric patterns. These drawings allow us to touch the past and learn about important events in the lives of ancient tribes. If you think it is impossible to find anything interesting on your own property, then you should definitely watch this video. As you can see, this person was lucky enough to find a gold ornament with precious stones in his yard. While cleaning, this man's wife found a sheet of plywood under one of the bricks in the floor. The spouses decided to see what was there and dismantled the entire floor. When they saw a secret hatch, they were delighted, hoping that treasures were hidden in the basement, but inside there was an old water pump. Off the coast of Kiptopeke, Virginia, a ghost fleet sleeps. The remains of 9 concrete ships built during World War II. In 1948, they were grounded to protect the ferry terminal in Chesapeake Bay from storms, and now they have turned into silent ruins among the waves. At the bottom of the Adriatic Sea, near the Croatian island of Zirje, divers discovered a Ju-87 R2 Stuka bomber shot down on April 12, 1941, by air defense forces during an attack on Šibenik. Despite spending a long time in the water, the aircraft was well preserved. In the Italian Prealps, on the summit of Mount Dosso dei Galli, there are gigantic antennas. From 1969 to 1995, the NATO IDGZ base with ace-high radio communication systems was located here. Its antennas provided encrypted communication from Norway to Turkey. Now the site is abandoned, and the structures are gradually collapsing. The territory is not guarded, so tourists sometimes visit this place. A diver discovered a boat underwater that had sunk quite recently. Fortunately, the people managed to escape. A man discovered an old sunken vessel. Its bow was raised upward, as if hoping that it would someday be pulled out of there, but that never happened. This temple, located on the top of a cliff in China, impresses with its beauty. Its observation deck offers fantastic views, and inside one can find ancient frescoes and statues of Buddha. In 2011, the Ocean X team discovered an anomaly at the bottom of the Baltic Sea, a round object 60 meters in diameter. It has a dome-like shape and steps, and next to it there is something resembling a track 300 meters long. This object still causes debate. Scientists consider it a natural formation of granite and basalt, while others insist on an artificial origin, referring to its unusual shape and an anomaly that causes electronics to malfunction when approaching the structure. Gilgal Rephaim, also known as the Wheel of Giants, is an ancient monument on the Golan Heights in Israel, discovered from the air in 1967. It consists of 5 concentric stone rings, up to 152 meters in diameter, and a central dolmen 5 meters high. The age of the structure is about 5,000 years, and its purpose remains unknown. Construction of Fort Blunder near Lake Champlain began in 1816. It was supposed to protect the United States from Britain, but because of a surveyor's mistake, the fortress ended up on Canadian territory. Construction was stopped, and the site was abandoned. Later, the fort nevertheless became part of the United States and was completed as Fort Montgomery. In Russia, in Istra, there are local Tesla coils, as people call the installations of the High Voltage Research Center. In reality, these are not coils in the literal sense, but special equipment for high voltage testing. The complex consists of an enormous generator tower and powerful transformers. No one knows under what circumstances this crater formed. Even scientists cannot establish the exact reason for its appearance. Even though World War II ended long ago, people in many countries continue to find unpleasant surprises from that era. Wandering through a remote forest, an explorer discovered old military vehicles among the trees with Soviet P-18 radar stations. The P-18 radar, adopted into service in 1971, was designed to detect airborne targets. It could track up to 10 targets simultaneously, determining their range and azimuth. The station was distinguished by enhanced resistance to interference and mobility, with its equipment mounted on 2 vehicles. A traveler discovered an anti-ship missile and was impressed by its enormous size. After such a discovery, one involuntarily starts thinking that diving can be dangerous not only because of obvious factors. In the depths of the Adriatic, off the coast of Montenegro, an abandoned secret submarine base of the former Yugoslavia is hidden. Built inside the rocks of the Lustica Peninsula, it included tunnels and storage areas for submarines. Today, the base has become a silent historical monument. No one knows how or when this boat appeared in the forest. Local residents have even invented mystical legends about it. Someone probably came up with an unusual way to give a gift to his girlfriend, but for some reason it was never collected. Now it has ended up in the hands of this treasure hunter. It would seem to be an ordinary snowdrift, but in reality, an abandoned bunker is hidden here. This man regularly goes to the beach in search of various objects, and sometimes he comes across interesting specimens. A traveler discovered a strange metal frame. Local residents said that, according to legends, more than 30 years ago a man tried to build a submarine and set off on a journey with his dogs, but illness prevented the dream from coming true. A man discovered an old well and decided to explore it. To do this, he used a powerful magnet. As it turned out, a real artifact was lying at the bottom of the well, the legendary knightly Tofhelm. During the construction of the bridge across the Kerch Strait, an American P-40 Kitty Hawk fighter was found at a depth of 9 meters. It was presumably shot down in 1943 during the Kerch-Eltigen operation. The aircraft was lifted to the surface with a floating crane. Surprisingly, even after a long time underwater, 6 Browning M, 2 machine guns with a caliber of 12.7 millimeters, survived on the fighter. In addition, fragments of the instrument panel and an engine with clearly visible markings were preserved. A treasure hunter got very lucky and found a real hoard, a chest filled with 20th century jewelry. In the 1950s, raids against smugglers were carried out in this area. Most likely, one of them decided to hide the chest in the ground, but for some reason never came back for it. Not far from Atlanta, there is an atmospheric car graveyard. Initially, it was an auto-dismantling business, but over time, the area turned into a museum whose collection includes more than 4,000 exhibits. Car enthusiasts from all over the world come here to walk among the rusted legends of their time. It can be said that this guy drew a lucky ticket. He was fortunate enough to find about 50 kilograms of gold ore. Once, this boat was in demand among tourists who wanted to relax comfortably on the water. Now it stands abandoned near the jungle and is unlikely ever to set sail again. A treasure hunter explored the area with a metal detector for several days. Finally, luck smiled on him, and he discovered a Wehrmacht officer's dagger that had lain in the ground since the time of World War II. In 2022, British scientists discovered a valuable find, an almost complete ichthyosaur skeleton. Ichthyosaurs were marine reptiles of the Mesozoic era, outwardly resembling dolphins. Their body length ranged from 1 to 21 meters. They had streamlined bodies and powerful fins, and their diet consisted of fish. Ichthyosaurs existed for almost the entire Mesozoic era, but by the end of the Cretaceous period, they were displaced by other reptiles, plesiosaurs. The author of this video expected to see almost anything in the forest, but certainly not abandoned M60 tanks from the Cold War, which were in excellent condition. When the metal detector gave a signal, the explorer thought he had found another trinket. But this time, luck smiled on him, and he discovered a pot of gold coins in the ground. A tourist launched a drone to explore a mountainous area in Utah. He was very surprised when he saw a gigantic concrete structure. Later he found out that it was the Tintic Reduction Mill, an abandoned metallurgical plant that actively operated in the early 20th century and was abandoned in the 1970s. During a morning walk along the beach after a storm, a family discovered a large safe. People hoped there would be money inside, but unfortunately, there was only a small packet of silica gel. Researchers discovered a concrete structure in the forest and decided to inspect it. When they came closer, they found an entrance leading into an abandoned Soviet communications bunker. This find became a real surprise for the explorers. tourists discovered an abandoned Airbus, A310, on the territory of the Belgian city of Charleroi, located in the immediate vicinity of residential houses. It turned out that the airliner had once been bought by a local resident and converted into a cafe. It was an original idea, but for some reason the establishment eventually closed. The author of this video noticed something strange happening near an American base. It seemed as though the military was testing a secret aircraft that looked as if it had arrived on Earth from other planets. Unfortunately, the eyewitness only caught the moment when the UFO was being loaded onto a truck for transportation, so it is quite difficult to understand what was happening there. An explorer went to one of the German cities to visit an abandoned depot. He was delighted by what he saw because more than 30 old locomotives are stored there. They were once actively used, but now they are slowly rusting in neglect. Adventure seekers discovered an incredibly eerie place. The interior of this structure would make an excellent location for filming a horror movie or psychological thriller. Imagine finding yourself in a dark room where a 20-meter skeleton of a fin whale hangs overhead, with another 13 similar skeletons behind it. It looks very creepy, unless you know that this place is an abandoned museum of marine mammals. The operation to raise the South Korean ferry Sewol, which sank in 2014, began on March 22, 2017, and lasted more than 600 days. The direct lifting of the hull from a depth of 40 meters took 27 hours. The ferry was moved with the help of 2 barges and 66 cables, with work periodically interrupted to drain water from sections of the vessel that had risen above the waterline. This operation became one of the most complex salvage missions in history. In one of Germany's chalk quarries, a diver discovered an airplane. But how did it end up here? Was it an accident, an intentional sinking, or a mysterious combination of circumstances? The underwater silence keeps this secret, while the body of the aircraft gradually becomes part of an unusual underwater landscape. During construction work in the United Arab Emirates, workers sometimes find abandoned cars in the sand. Some of them are worth very large sums of money. In Poland, a British Valentine 9 tank, produced in 1943, was raised from the bottom of the Warta River. The vehicle, transferred to the USSR through Lend-Lease, went under the ice in 1945. After spending 70 years underwater, the tank was well preserved. After being raised, it was sent for restoration. The author of this video is certain that he captured a real flying saucer on camera, although what it actually was remains a mystery. A family bought a house with a garage, inside which they discovered an unfinished model of the Viper spacecraft from the series Battlestar Galactica. It must be said that its creator showed real skill. These frames show the MS World Discoverer, a cruise ship built in 1974. On April 30th, 2000, the vessel struck a reef in Sandfly Passage in the Solomon Islands. The captain quickly sent a distress signal, so there were no casualties. The ship was beached in Roderick Bay, where it remains today. It is now a tourist attraction. On the right bank of the Kama River in Perm, there is a ship graveyard. Until 2015, a fleet repair and maintenance base was located here. Today, many abandoned vessels can be seen on the base's territory, including hydrofoil ships, barges, and cargo ships. China has been known since ancient times for unusual houses in the rocks. These frames show one such dwelling. The house is located at an altitude of about 1,500 meters above sea level, right in a crack in the rock. Inside it are several rooms with furniture. Some rooms are equipped with concrete tanks, but the most interesting thing in this house is the complex drainage and water supply system. Residents of the Chinese city of Zhangjiakou made a striking find: an 18-meter skeleton with a large skull, front and rear limbs, and a long tail. The video instantly spread across the internet. Many users saw a resemblance between the creature to which the remains belonged and the dragons from the series Game of Thrones. However, the residents of Zhangjiakou disagree and believe these are the bones of a Chinese dragon, since the creature had no wing. The reefs of Lanai Beach in the Hawaiian Islands caused the deaths of a huge number of ships. However, the fate of the barge, Yogen 42, was different. It was not a tragic wreck, but a deliberate decision. In 1950, the vessel, which had survived World War II and many years of service, was intentionally grounded off the coast of the island. Today, the rusty skeleton of the ship is a popular local attraction. A tourist discovered a strange crack in the ground and decided to look inside. There was a creepy, dirty room with a chair that looked as if a kidnapped person had once been kept there. In Costa Rica, there are about 300 stone spheres ranging in diameter from several centimeters to 3 meters. These objects still cause debate. Scientists believe they were created by representatives of the ancient Dikis culture about 4,000 years ago, but many people are convinced that they have an extraterrestrial origin. A treasure hunter explored a historic area, and when his metal detector gave a signal, he called in an excavator to begin digging. It must be said that the treasures he found are worth far more than what he had to pay for the special equipment. Researchers discovered a motorcycle in the ground that had been in that place since World War II. It is interesting to imagine what it will look like after restoration. During a trip in the Alps, an adventure seeker discovered a mysterious door in the rock. After entering, he realized that it was an abandoned military bunker. This place looks very strange because everything here is covered with ice despite the temperature being above zero. This American Curtiss P-40L Warhawk fighter had been underwater for 54 years before it was finally retrieved. Despite that, it still looks fairly good. An explorer discovered an unusual place and captured it on camera without revealing the secret of where he had been. Later, it turned out that the place was an abandoned glass factory. Divers discovered a passenger plane underwater. Later, they tried to find information about a crash in this place, but they were unable to learn anything. The mystery of this find remains unsolved. Gjator Air Base is located in Albania, not far from the city of Leja. It was built in the 1970s to defend against a possible attack from Yugoslavia. The base has 2 runways, and underground there are tunnels that can accommodate about 50 aircraft. Military fighters used to be stationed here, and in the 1990s, the United States used the base for drones. Abandoned depots can not only boast a post-apocalyptic atmosphere, but also offer the chance to sit inside a driver's cab. In June 1942, a British P-40 Kitty Hawk fighter disappeared. The plane was flying between air bases in Egypt during the North African campaign of World War II. The wreckage was found only in 2012 in the Western Desert. Thanks to special weather conditions, the fighter was excellently preserved. Travelers discovered a passenger plane near the jungle. No information about this aircraft could be found, so how it ended up here remains a mystery. When the man became interested in exploring with a metal detector, his friends made fun of him. However, after he discovered gold bars, they seriously considered buying a detector. A guy from Sudan did not even suspect that on this day he would discover a find that would change his entire life. In the 19th century, slate miners in North Wales often set up temporary shelters right inside the mines. In the underground workings, they marked out places for rest and stored tools there. Because of this, large mining complexes consisting of dozens of tunnels resembled real underground cities. A diver discovered someone's chain in a flooded cave. It was probably lost by another diver. A traveler discovered dinosaur tracks from a creature that walked through these places about 200 million years ago. Finding yourself in an abandoned children's amusement park late at night is very scary. That is all from me. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget to rate it, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell. For me, your activity is the best reward. Thank you for your attention. See you soon. Bye.